Coming up on today's show, we are bringing you your weekly COVID-19 update, stress and mental health management. Hello, darlings, and welcome to your weekly COVID-19 update. I am your host, Portia Scott, and I am not alone. I am joined with my two co-hosts. But before we introduce them and bring them on, I want to know, where are you watching from? Where are you watching from, darling? Thank you guys so much for joining. As everyone comes in, I know there's a delay, so let us know where it is that you are watching from. Even the majority of our team is watching from the Atlanta area. However, we also have LA in the house. I know we have Texas in the house. So let us know where you are watching from. We also have Connecticut that comes in the house. So you guys, this is one of my favorite days of the week because we get to bring you this weekly COVID-19 update. We get to talk about mental health. And today we're also going to incorporate stress management. What stress does to our bodies. How can we manage the stress that we are under with so much going on? So listen, while you're telling us where you're watching from, I want to make sure that you keep in touch with us. Text the phrase "wake up" to 31996. That's "wake up" to 31996. You will be alerted whenever we have a podcast episode that goes live, whenever, one of our daily shows goes live, as well as some inspiration and empowerment throughout the week. So I want to know, what are you grateful for? We always talk about that. And in the midst of everything that is going on, there's always a glimmer of hope. There's always a light. And so let us know in the comments what it is that you are grateful for. So while you guys are telling us what you're grateful for, I'm going to bring on my co-host because I want to make sure we get into this show. It's going to be incredible. And so my first co-host is Dr. Donovan Christie.
Hey.
Doc, how's it going?
Great to be here as usual.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots going on in the world.
I know, but you just finished, like, how many miles did you bike ride today?
We just did 21 miles. It was we went out kind of late because we had a lot of people coming over today. So we got out literally. We got on the track around 4:30, and we were done by 6:15. So I then hurried home, and here we are.
That is excellent, Doc. Wow, 21 miles. I tell you, I'm going to have to come out and bike ride with you and Jackie.
That's my stress buster.
I know.
You got to do it. You got to get it in. All that stuff just piles up in you. We'll talk.
Absolutely. So our next co-host is Martinez Sellers. Hey,
hello,
Marty.
there. How are you? Portia, Doc? How you doing?
Hey, Marty.
I'm good, Marty. How's it going in Southern California?
You know what is going well out here in Southern California. We're just trying to find what this new normal is, and trying, like Doc said, get some of this stress and anxiety off of us so that we can not react, but definitely have some emotional intelligence about what we do.
Absolutely. So you guys know how we do. We have everyone kind of typing in what they're grateful for. Doc, I'll let you go first. What are you grateful for today?
You know, with this racial pandemic, it's funny, but I say that because, we're dealing with an infectious pandemic with a virus that's we haven't seen the likes of before. But with this chronicity of Black people being murdered, innocent, unarmed, it made me think of, I've been through quite a bit, going through medical school, college, medical school, and residency, and finally getting to a point where we're considered well-to-do, right? So not a millionaire, but we're comfortable. And when I look back on who, because my family, we didn't have any doctors in my family. So I have to thank the people who helped me along the way
Right.
to get to where I was, where I am right now, because especially during the time when I was a teenager growing up in the Bronx, the South Bronx, I could have gone wayward. And I remember a particular woman, a white woman, who saw something in me. And she basically, got me in touch with the college that I went to. And she was there. She coached me through that interview process. And, I would like to give thanks for all the white people out there that actually see good in Black people.
I love that, Doc. I love that. That's
Yeah.
very, very
Mhm.
powerful,
Yeah.
and just it takes one, right? I always say that it only takes one. And so someone to kind of reach out and say, this is how you do this. And that's so
Exactly.
important, especially in
Yeah.
this climate, even as we, rely on our white allies to stand with us in this fight, because it's going to take more than just us. Um, and also that we're, upholding and reaching our hand out to those that look like us, but may not have a background, may not know what do I do how do I even fill out a college application? How do I
Yeah.
get ready for the
Mhm.
SAT? What is all this stuff that I don't know because I have not had the exposure. So I think that's incredible, Doc. I
Yeah.
love it. Marty, I'm going to turn it over to you. What are you grateful for today?
I love what Doc you said, that grateful for people who look at us not based upon the color of our skin, but about who look at us based upon the potential that we definitely do have. And those people who pull it out of us and push us and coach us to the next levels in life. But I'm also grateful for yesterday. We had an amazing um, Black Lives Matter rally here in Southern California, in Anaheim, California. For those who don't know a lot about Anaheim, California, it is one of the Republican regions, so it's Orange County. So that's very, very Republican. But we had a very successful rally with walking 3 miles with a police escort. And there were no problems whatsoever. It was really cool to have these 10 motorcycle cops that were just right there alongside of us. And they spoke with us, and we all had a great, great time together as we band in this. And what I love even more was that we had more white allies out there than there were we of African American descent, which was
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. And that millennial group that came out was phenomenal. So it was a peaceful family Black Lives Matter rally. And I'm just grateful to God for that, and that it went without any hitches whatsoever.
Absolutely. I love that. One of the things that I'm seeing and I am so, so grateful for is I am not grateful for the incidents that got us here. But
Right.
what I am grateful for is that I believe that the earth is shaken, right? Because
Hmm.
we've seen protests in all 50 states, but also around the country. I mean,
Right.
around the globe. And so
Hmm.
people are coming out and saying, you know what, this happened in London, this happened in Australia, this happened here where, and obviously a lot of the systematic oppression and racial injustice, so much of it is here in the US, but it's happening all over. And so people are saying, this isn't right. This is
Right.
not what we want to be known for. We want to stand up. And so I think in this moment, we have so many opportunities, and I had to take a step back because I kind of felt like, well, Portia, how can you rah, rah, rah? How can you be the intention girl? How can you be the inspiration girl in a moment like this? And I think that it is just this question, right? What are you grateful for? I know that sometimes it is hard, and I had to take a week off. I had to breathe and I had to pause and say that I am no good. And so
Right.
I need to be refreshed. And I'm glad that we're going to talk a little bit about that today, about how do you manage that stress? Because I said that sometimes showing up is slowing down.
Hmm.
So I just think it's a very pivotal moment, and we can't miss it. We cannot miss it. So let's get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID because we want to make sure we give people that update. So you guys, you can always ask questions, but I do want to tell you that we are going to lean into this stress management, what it does to the body, why we need to make sure we are managing it, as Doc says, through exercise, through nutrition. But I think it's important, Doc, that, when we get into that we really talk about what that does to the body. Because you have a great analogy about the hunter and gatherer and all that. And that's the thing. You said that one time in one of your workshops. And that was the thing that was like, whoa, now I get it. So I'm hoping people get it when you talk about that. So Doc, let's go ahead and start with you. Let's talk a little bit about the updates. What are some of the numbers? What are we looking at or looking like right now as it relates to COVID?
Yeah. Well, I get my numbers from the CDC, and that's the most accurate. I don't get my numbers from Fox or any of the media. You go to the source. So right now, there's 1.891 or 1,891,690 cases in the US. And total deaths, we're almost at 110,000. We're 109,192. And this is as of Saturday. So whatever happened today is not in these numbers. But it's dramatic because, who would have thought, when you look at the map of the cases, everything started going up in March, mid-March. And then it peaked in about mid-April. And then we've seen a steady decline in the number of cases and death. However, with this turmoil going on right now, what's going to happen? When you have all the cities, the big cities, New York City, for instance, LA, and all the major cities that have erupted essentially because of this, this atrocities. And I think it happened when we were all pent up, cooped up.
Right.
And it just came out, and then people it's almost like they don't care. You see so many people out there say, no, we have to stop this, and it has to be stopped now. So, so those are the current cases. What I'd like to do is to just look at, because I know we're gonna all want to know, well, since these rioting and protesting and have the case gone up. Now, it takes 10 to 14 days after exposure, before you can actually say something.
Right.
But we were seeing a nice downward decline at the end of last month, right? So on June 1st, we had new cases now in America, 14,790, and it's a daily thing.
Wow.
On June 2nd, it went to 24,000, like a 10,000 increase. Now, let me just warn you, when you look at these numbers up and down, the way it works is that you look at the trend downward, but you're going to have little spikes like that, daily spikes, but the overall average is still going downwards. So we went from June 1st to June 2nd, 14,000 to 24,000, but then June 3rd, you see again, it went back to 14,000.
Right.
June 4th, 20,000. June 5th, 29,000. So what you're saying, I'm not saying like June 5th, we're at June 7th right now. Is this going to continue to go up? We're at 29, or are we going to, it's going to start mellowing down again. So you don't know. We just have to look at the trend. So we don't know what's going to happen yet, but it's obvious to me that so many people not doing social isolation anymore to the extent that they were, that this virus has not gone away yet. So we will see a spike. We will see a spike in cases. And, it's when people go back in and start, and we're practicing the proper social distance, and even in our businesses, as they're all opening up, We have to follow those guidelines. I think it'll continue to come down.
Right, absolutely. So I
Mhm.
know we had Stephanie. She's actually in California as well, and
Hmm.
she's saying that the cases were at the hospital that she works at, they're actually coming in at its highest at the hospital there. So, um, I don't know what the
And I was speaking to a nurse even yesterday that they are anticipating, Doc, because of the Black Lives Matter protest and everything, that they're actually preparing for a wave possibly this coming week and the week after that. Um, Getting ready for it, anticipating if there is a spike, because now most of the counties out here are giving you the option whether or not to wear masks. Restaurants opening up this weekend with all of that, and will that affect what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a laxity. I've been
Hmm.
yesterday. I went to Home Depot. Most of the patrons didn't have a mask
Right,
on. Um,
right.
all the staff had masks, but the
Hmm.
patrons, it's almost like, okay, this is over. A lot
Right,
of them thinking literally 50 to 75% of them didn't have a mask.
right. And it's kind of
And I'm sure,
scary.
yeah, and I'm sure you'll see that in the supermarkets.
right,
We went to Kroger as well. But yeah, people are definitely not as um, protective as
cautious.
they had been in the past.
Yeah, it's funny. We went out as well, and just seeing people with like no mask on. One of the things we got something to eat, and so the people in the restaurant, like the workers, they had masks. Everybody had masks there, but like you said, the patrons, they're kind of like lax, now,
Mhm.
and so I think we'll see cases continue to go up and down and try to figure that out. But it will be good to see what happens with this Black Lives Matter, as we're seeing across the states, what that looks like, especially in states that are like, densely populated, right? New York City, which is, it's so funny because it kind of speaks to where we are in the country, because you
Hmm.
will risk your life to go out there and protest, right? Because New York, we all know that's been like the epicenter.
Epicenter.
That's
Hmm.
so, people are out there. And I have seen a lot of people wear masks, but just in those cities where, it's not like the little pockets of people
Mhm.
protesting, but DC, and you have New York where it's really, really heavy. You have here in Atlanta, but just because in LA, but New York was such a big, had so many of the cases. So,
But one of the things that it's good that we won't see, I don't think we'll see a massive spike, but we will see a spike. I think
mhm,
it's because you're outside.
yep.
When you're outside, the wind is blowing, right, on a regular. So, and the virus really is just if it's coughed out or sneezed out, it's going to pretty much stay there, but the wind will blow it. So I just don't. I think it's good that we're not doing these protests in house, in
Right.
or in a gym or somewhere where the air is not circulating as well. So that is a saving grace that it's all happening outside.
Mhm. So, Doc, let's talk a little bit about the ethnic distribution with the pandemic. What does that look like? And kind of tell us a little bit about, what those numbers really mean.
Yeah. So I said earlier we have 1.9 pretty much million cases. So the cases are distributed. If you look at African Americans in the population, we only make up 14% of the
Mhm.
population. Hispanics make up about 16 to 17%. And the majority of people in the United States are white Americans. I think that, because we live in the cities typically, and we're concentrated, so we see a lot more black
Right.
people than we would think,
Hmm.
but we're really only 14% of the population. Now, when you look at the amount of cases, out of those 1.8, 1.9 million cases, black people make up 22% of those cases. 22%. So it's a third more than you would expect if it was equally distributed. White people make up 36% of the case, and Hispanics are particularly affected with this disease, more so than blacks. You know, you
Wow.
hear about 33% of the cases are in Hispanics. 33%. Phenomenally high.
Wow.
And so basically, it's like double for them. Now, why do you think that is? Why? Who are the frontline workers? Who are the people who really couldn't
Right.
afford to go back to stay in place, shelter in place? They had to work. So I think there you see a lot of them exposed. And my population that I treat is we have at least 30 to 40% Hispanics, and
Mhm.
we've gotten so many positives with them.
Wow.
They're doing they're the ones who are not obviously it's they're doing a lot of the what we call limpia. They do the cleaning. They clean
Hmm.
schools. They clean the hospitals. They're just like African Americans as
Yep.
well, but it impacts them even more than it's impacting us. I just wanted you guys to know that. But um, for sure, white people are still, they have more people, so they're going to have, more cases. They have 36% of the cases, with Hispanics just a little bit behind, and they're only 16, 17% of the population at 33%, and black people have 22% of the total cases.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's that 33% for Hispanics.
Hispanic,
And you are
Hmm.
right. It's
very
usually
high.
black and Hispanics that are on the front line, but you make a good point. So I worked a lot in hospitals just around the US and visiting and
Mhm.
things like that. And I'd have to say that although I can't say what the number was, but the hospitals that I went to, it was Hispanics that were part of the environmental services, right? So they're actually going in to clean up. They're cleaning up the ORs. They're cleaning up all of these different areas, and so you're coming in contact with all of this stuff. So on a regular basis, their job is, they have to be careful
Right,
with what they're touching
right.
and doing, and so you just,
And the factories too. There's a lot of
yeah,
Hmm.
factories, and there's overcrowding in some of the factories,
Right.
right,
whether they were giving them the proper personal protective food factories. We don't
Right.
know what they
exactly,
were
yes.
getting. And we all have to eat, so somebody has to be there. That's a frontline worker, right?
Right, right. That
Right.
was funny, Doc, because early on you would say, because remember, I was afraid. I was like, no, I'm cooking everything. I wasn't ordering out because I was like, mm-mm. Even though I trust you, Doc, I was like, mm-mm.
Hmm.
But it was funny because those factories had like, I forgot one factory tested positive for so many workers.
Hmm.
However, there was no evidence that it was foodborne per se, right? So it's like
Hmm.
they're touching the same things, touching each other, but
Yeah, it's not.
so
No.
you had said that a while ago, but
Mhm.
you're not really hearing that because I think if it was, we would definitely see numbers that were extraordinarily high, right? Because we're
Oh yeah,
all kind of eating
yeah.
Tyson or Purdue, whoever it was, they're they're chickens, and so thank you for that, Doc.
But if I could, because where I'm at, I'm just an hour and 15 minutes from the Mexican border with that,
Yes,
with Tijuana and all that. And then the county I live in San Bernardino County, which is the largest county in the nation. And what we have is land. So we are
mm,
becoming the warehouse county for almost everything, and warehouses are going up. So who do you hire? You hire these undocumented workers, you hire these Hispanics, and all
Hmm.
of that. And there's lots of overcrowdedness going on. And so you're absolutely right. Especially there's so many different food places out here as well, and you have them out in the strawberry fields and whatever else.
right,
That's where we normally see them at. And with that, are we protecting them? Are we doing the necessary measures? Do
right,
they even know? Because when it comes to putting food on my family's table versus I have this little cough, I'll do some home remedies and all that and keep it going. For many of them, it's a life and death situation that they are faced with. And too many of them are afraid because now we have to also deal with ICE that is very present out here where they're shipping undocumented workers back to Mexico,
Mm.
separating the families
Oh,
and
yeah.
leaving the kids. We have about 14, last count I heard was about 14,000 kids just here in California, where they have shipped their parents, deported their parents back
Yeah.
to Mexico, and they're in what they're quasi holding tanks, if you
Right.
will. So there's so many dynamics. So you have the risk of now that even breaking out with our children, and
Hmm.
that we never even talk about, and keeping them all safe. So there's it's such a complicated issue that we're talking about on so many levels,
Yeah.
especially in our larger population areas.
Correct.
Absolutely. I think too,
Hmm.
they're not going to the doctor because
Right.
why? They're not documented. So we're not going. I was in a hospital in in Laredo, and on the border and things like that. And they were
Right.
saying that their census had gone down, not recently, but a couple years back. And their census had gone down right when immigration was coming, when ICE was coming in really strong.
Right.
And they said that their census and their labor and delivery had gone down like 90%. So
Hmm.
that kind of tells you that they're having babies at home, that they're
Yeah.
they're willing to have these babies at home, deliver at home. And so I wonder if, they're obviously they're not going into doctors' offices and things like that. But you made a good point about children. So, Doc, let's talk a little bit about the age distribution of COVID-19.
Yeah. Well, remember, they were saying, well, if you're old, um, you're going to be at greater risk, the elderly people,
Mm-hmm.
and people with comorbidities. But when you look at the numbers, the age group that's mostly affected, if you just had to look at the numbers, now you have 0 to 17. There's only in that age group up to 17, 64,000 cases in that age group. From 18 to 44, young people who are out there working, socializing, 610,237. So 610 versus 64,000. When you look at that, young people,
Mm-hmm.
610,000. Now, when you get into the middle-aged people like me, we have we have from 45 to 64, 514,000. So it's a little less than the 610 that you see there, but it's still quite significant. So when you look from 18 to 64, you're looking at over 1.2 million cases, which is probably two-thirds of the cases, 1.8 versus 1.2,
Mm-hmm.
right? So these are the working class people out there working every day, doing what they need to do to take care of their families. 1.2 million when you combine the age groups. Now, your seniors from 65 to 74. Now, they were probably the most compliant with the in shelter rules because everyone,
Hmm.
everyone would say, well, you're older, you're going to get it, you're going to get
Right.
it. All my friends, even doctors, I know this didn't even go into their practice who were over the age of, say, 65. They just decided not to. Now, we see a nice drop at 150,000 compared to the group between 45 and 64, 514,000, you have 150,000. Actually, less than the 0 to 17 group. No, it's not less. It's twice as much in the elderly. And then if you're over 75, we're looking at another 178.
Mm-hmm.
So 178,000. So you have quite a bit. When you add both of them over 65, you're looking at about 320,000. Still nothing compared to the age group of 45 to 64 with 514, or the younger age group of 610.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So one of the
Yeah.
things, we're seeing in the protest is you see that age group, that 18 to 44 is
Mhm.
likely the largest age group. You have the
Right.
millennials in there. You have some older millennials. You have some Generation X. See, why?
Mhm.
I don't even remember what generation I'm in, which is terrible. But I say that because Nicole has a question. Her son is in this age group. He's been going back and forth about whether or not he should go to the protest. Obviously, she is concerned. He's been using his social media, but he wants to go out. And she says, we just don't feel like it's safe to be in large numbers with the virus still being a health concern. What are your thoughts, Doc? I know you hit on it a little bit about being outside, but what are your thoughts for Nicole?
And I mean, I think that if you feel it in your heart strongly to go out there and protest, um, you should. And the one good thing about that age group, even though there are more cases, the death fatality rate is less than it would be if you're 64 or above, because your immune system is stronger at that age group, and you'd get a better fighting chance. So it's not that you can't catch it, but if you remember, and always keep this in the back of your mind, 95% or more of people who get the disease do not die from it, right? They get it and they get either a clinical case where they're really sick, or they get a subclinical case where they're not really sick, and it goes through the phases, and they're, within 2 weeks they're better and they can actually go back to work according to the CDC. So I would, if he feels strongly, if he's wearing his mask, don't be like one of those protesters without the mask. I think you should allow him to participate if it really is on his heart to do that.
Yeah, I love that, Doc. Thank you for
Yeah.
that. Marty, I'm going to hit that because, you have people that are saying, I want to go out, I want to
Hmm.
protest. So, like, he's 18, he's ready. He's like, I want to go out. It's more so Nicole and her husband that are like, we don't think it's safe. But we know the people that on the inside, they want to go, but it's so much going on that they're almost scared to go out of the house. Like, how do
Sure.
they navigate that? How do they navigate that mentally, knowing like strongly, I feel a sense, I feel an urge, but I almost can't go because I'm so scared to be out in Corona, to be outside because I haven't tested the waters yet.
Hmm. Hmm. I think there's a lot of things that you can definitely do with that, Portia. As Doc said, I think we need to make sure that we're safe. Make sure you have on your mask. I have a filter inside my mask with this on top of it too. Um, Wear your gloves. Make sure you have hand sanitizer. Discuss it. I love having a family plan. I'm all about having family plans so that everyone in the family and everyone that you're talking to knows, one, where you're at, and two, um, who's going to kind of be there as best you can, and what's a plan that you have if it goes left. Real quick, my sons and daughters, my 29-year-old, she was on the news last Sunday because of the protests, and they interviewed her and she had her mask on. My son, he's been in another protest, but we all make sure that we're practicing as best as we can physical distancing. Secondly, making sure that the people we're standing next to, you kind of know who they are and they're kind of healthy, but have those conversations. And it's so important that we do, because that's how we reduce the anxiety. That's how we make sure that all of that does not overwhelm us, so that we're all on the same page. And then as soon as we get home, Doc, I don't know if this is highly recommended, we immediately hit the showers, hit everything, wash all of that off of us, then making sure we're taking our vitamins and that type of thing. And then finally unplugging, because even in research shows that even in a rally such as this, the chances of depression and anxiety settling in after a movement such as this is anywhere from 7 to 10%. And we don't talk about that a lot of times. So when you're looking at something like that, there is a possibility that some anxiety and depression can set in. But we have to know that we have to know how to combat that and manage it in a way that's doable and really relatable for the entire family or
Right.
the people that you're hanging out with.
I love that. Thanks, Marty. Yesterday, my kids had not been out a lot. I told you guys I started stepping out, but my kids had not been out a lot. And so we actually went to a rally. We went to a rally, and we were doing a drive. It was like a drive, you drive and do the rally. It's like in your vehicle kind of thing. They had the rally outside. And so we actually missed the outside rally, but we were in the car. It was like an hour drive out there, an hour drive back. And the one thing that we realized was that our kids were extremely tired. Just like it took so much. Even for me, I was like, even being out, it took so much from me. So Doc, we're in these situations where we didn't get a break from COVID. It was like, we're talking about COVID, we're in the house, we're scared. This happens. And so we're reacting to two in one. What is that stress like due to the body? Like,
yeah, that's the 1-2 punch.
It is.
I saw somebody sent me, what else could happen in 2020, right? I mean, this has been a heck of a year. But yeah, it's been very stressful for everyone. And this is what happens when you have acute stress. The body, okay, look at it. If you're running from a lion who's chasing you, or a gunman who's chasing you, you're going to have an acute stress reaction. So your body is going to pour out adrenaline or epinephrine is what we call it, or noradrenaline, which is going to pump blood more to your muscles, so you can run, right? So that's what's going to happen. But adrenaline also causes your blood pressure to go up. It speeds up your heart rate. All right. And that's an acute response. What a lot of people don't take into consideration is what happens with another hormone called cortisol. When you are acutely stressed, your cortisol level will go up. And that hormone is what we call a catabolic hormone, catabolic, catabolic. It breaks you down. It's important to have cortisol in the morning, and it should be secreted in the body in a diurnal pattern, which means, let me break that down, that it peaks in the morning. That's the first part. And then by mid-afternoon and towards the night, it goes down. So it's important in the morning because it's anti-inflammatory. It reduces inflammation. So when you get up, your muscles aren't sore. When you're sleeping, the blood flow is going through and everything through your legs, your liver, everything is happening. So the cortisol kind of drives all that out, all that inflammation out. So when you get up, if you ever get up in the middle of the night when you break your sleep, you'll realize that you're just not as flexible, because you've just kind of ruined that cycle, that diurnal cycle, that by getting up and forcing the body to kick into gear to get you to the bathroom and to get you back. And then, most people can settle that down and go to sleep. But cortisol is catabolic, and cortisol will suppress your immune system. When it suppresses your immune system, on the long run, people who are chronically stressed now, or they've been stressed for weeks and months, like most people now, their immune system gets set down. So people who are stressed will get high blood pressure. They will get sugar cravings. They will get salt cravings. All of those things contribute. These are all hormonal things. If your cortisol level doesn't go down in the evening like it should, because you're just so constantly stressed, you're on the computer, you're listening to news, and it's just, so you don't get the diurnal, you don't get the up and the down, which should happen every day, up and down every day, up. You don't get that. So you have this high level of cortisol suppressing your immune system, keeping you up at night, giving you insomnia, giving you high blood pressure, giving you salt and sugar cravings. And then you develop, when your immune system has been suppressed for that long, people who are stressed. See, you could see a lot of people who are under a lot of stress, they'll develop cancer because then the body's defenses is not there to eradicate that one mutation of a cell that occurs in all of us. But when your immune system is sharp, it's just say, okay, oh, that shouldn't be there. Let me take that out and then get rid of it. So it's very important that you make sure your body is working in the way it should work. Your immune system is very important. So if you challenge it by doing the things that you need to do to get your pattern back,
Mm-hmm.
you want to exercise to get your heart rate up, to produce good hormones. Endorphins are going to come out 30 minutes to an hour. You should be doing that 5 to 6 days a week, every week. You should always find time for that. You want to find time for meditation with prayer, and then not keeping all that stress in, because what happens, you got to get it out. And when you get it out, then the cortisol comes down, then the adrenaline comes down, and you can sleep. It's how you live your life. You have to
Yeah.
live it in a way where we're gonna get trouble. God tells us that.
Mm-hmm.
How you deal with it
Yeah.
is the important thing. And so massage therapy, I do it all. I get
Yeah.
I get it rubbed out of me.
Doc, you know what? You made a great point, because one of the things I say this all the time. I am an emotional eater, right? When I'm happy, I'm emotional.
Right.
I'm eating. When I'm sad, anything causes me to eat. But when I am super duper stressed, I also have I have a love of sugar, and
Mhm.
I'm working on that. We're on the Daniel fast, so I'm working on that. But I want sugar. I'm not the salt person, but I need sugar. Like, it is
Mhm.
almost like ravenous, right? And so it makes sense. But Doc, I went because I wanted to show this. This is, and I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm trying to show it. It's
Oh yeah.
adrenal support. So
Mhm.
Doc, so I take this daily.
Wonderful.
And so Doc, I want you to talk about, like, and so Doc, he didn't ask me, but they sell this. This has been incredible. When I went to your presentation where you did the whole day, I bought it then because I was in a place where I was like super stressed. And so it wasn't just this, but started working out. I started really paying attention to what I was eating, mostly the sweets, and cutting back on that, but taking this to help out
Oh yeah.
with that stress, right? So talk a little bit about that adrenal, what is
Oh
that?
yeah. Okay. Well, the adrenal support are adaptogens. I remember when I did my prayer the other day, I mentioned that God put everything on earth in the form of, whether it be water or food, herbs. He put everything on earth to heal you. So those are adaptogenic herbs, and it has things like ashwagandha. Theanine is a good one. The B vitamins also important for energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so these herbs work synergistically to kind of regulate that curve. So when you do the support in the morning, when people are chronically stressed, the body will say, hey, stop it. You're going to eat my brain away with this catabolic cortisol. And people become forgetful because they're stressed, because there's actually things going on in your brain
Mm-hmm.
from the fact that your immunity is suppressed. So what the adrenal supplement does, it helps to kick that cortisol back up in the morning. That's why you take it in the morning. And then I have another supplement in the evening to lower it, again. So you try to mimic that diurnal pattern so you can sleep at night. So the adrenal support, we have them take that in the morning, and then the adrenal stress, we have you take it in the evening to the night to calm that down, to try to get you back on path.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I don't want to miss this because Tiffany asked a question. And so we're kind of going back and forth between COVID and the stress, but I think it all ties together. But
Mm-hmm.
she said that she's a spin instructor, Doc, and she's been asked to return to teaching classes. They have minimized the number of members who can attend 10 to 12, 6 feet apart, and increased sanitizing bikes before and after. Do you think it is safe for her to return?
Sure, I do. I do. I think if as long as the bikes are being sanitized and that the room itself is well aerated, And you have, whether it be fans that are blowing, because when I do a spin class, forget it. I mean, there's a puddle of water right around the bike. So, but we've been doing, and I'm sure she's probably familiar with Peloton, and right now the Peloton studios, you just right now, if you log on, you have your instructor, but he's the only one there, or she's the only one there. They don't have anybody in the studio. So, but people are home and people can participate. But I think if you keep the numbers down and you keep your social distance, you should be perfectly fine. If they're going to minimize it, leave it to between 6 and 10 people, I don't think you'll have a problem at all.
Okay. Excellent. And then she didn't ask this, but would she wear a mask? Would the people wear a mask? Because they're usually in these, closed facilities, kind of closed rooms, or
You can, like today on my bike ride, I saw several people wearing masks. They have
Yeah.
these kind of masks that they can breathe through.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't wear a mask when I'm riding because I'm going pretty
Yeah.
fast. So,
But you're also outdoors too, Doc. So
and I'm outdoors, right? But indoor, I would, if she's really, it really depends on her level of risk. If she wants to wear a mask, she should.
right.
To protect
Absolutely.
herself from the other 10 people. For sure.
Absolutely. Marty, you know what? We're talking about this stress
Yes.
and feeling like you're running away from the lion all day long. And that was
Yes.
the analogy that you gave, Doc, that I was like, could you imagine running a marathon that's never ending? That's kind of
Right.
it. And so we've had to explain COVID to our kids. And now we have to explain what is going on with racial injustice. I literally had to have a conversation with my 6-year-old, and it was at his level, I think,
Yeah.
but he still didn't get it. And so, how do we appropriately talk to our kids about this?
Sure.
Different levels, I get it, but how yeah, how do I talk to it about when they see us crying, when they see us a little upset, and just trying to understand what's going on in the world
Yeah.
right now?
Great question. I want to kind of piggyback real quick what Doc was saying about the stress, because that is so key. This week alone, I probably had anywhere from 12 to 15 emails or calls from Black men who are just so stressed out, who were anywhere from feeling like they were going to have a heart attack, feeling the stress and anxiety that's sitting on their chest, um, acid reflux, Doc, and some of that
Oh, yeah.
heartburn, all of those things, and tightness in the back of their neck, their
Mhm.
shoulders, just not desiring to get up. Like Doc said, with the extra wanting to eat sweet stuff, chips, salty stuff
Healthy
in
food,
that. Yeah. So
for sure.
I love this combination and this integrative approach, because it all works together, and you cannot combat one successfully without combating the other. So thank you, Doc, for sharing that, because it's all
Oh, yeah.
true with that. But I think when we're talking to our children, what was really great, Portia, as we said, this family protest that we had out there, because there were elementary school kids out there, and I got a chance to talk to, and I said to our allies, white partners, and their children, and
Mhm.
some of them didn't even understand it, but in talking to them, and I was even giving the parents advice. So how do I do this? You just got to tell them what's going on, because the kids feel something is going on, even if they may not understand. Again, mommy and daddy are home. Things are changing. Everyone's angry. People are crying. What is this? Continue to have those conversations, even as difficult as they might be. Even if you think you might have blown it, it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I kind of blew that part, but let's get this part corrected.
Mhm.
Because what you are doing is teaching your children, even in the most difficult situations, that they can come to their mom, their dad, their uncle, their older brother, that family, their home is a safe place, that I don't have to worry about it because I have people to talk to. Imagine how much less stressed our kids are going to be if we teach them already how to speak up, teach them already how to speak out, teach them already how to live. And what a difference that's going to make, even in their approach to everything and how they approach difficulties in society. Like Doc said, We know that anxiety and stress and things are going to come our way in life that we have no control over. But in learning how to deal with it effectively, that's the key. It really is.
Yeah. Um, Tiffany, it's so funny she brought up this question because I was getting ready to kind of ask something close to it. We know we are traumatized, not sleeping well, recurring nightmares.
Mhm.
Preteen daughter is really angry because white teens are doing disgraceful George Floyd, I can't breathe videos on TikTok. It's in our baby's face. We have no choice but to have that talk.
Yes.
So let's talk about those images because I didn't see the video, but many people have, and many people have seen the just the pictures. How do we get one? I think one, how does Tiffany talk to her daughter? And then two, how do we get those images out of our minds?
Mm. Definitely continue, Tiffany, to share with your daughter. We're all learning some amazing lessons about loyalty, friendships, and how people really view society and how people are really taking things lighthearted in this and how it affects us. Um, Continue to have those conversations. I would even encourage you to have you and your daughter look at those persons who are sharing those things and block them out of TikTok. Block them from your the what your children see. We have to learn when to unplug from this. I'm using this what I'm calling um, BLM mental health strategies or Black Life Matters mental health. And the first thing I'm saying is B stands for breathe. We have to breathe. Breathe in, breathe out, because we have to let that oxygen come in. And like you said, sometimes we just have to unplug, and showing up sometimes means shutting down in that. The L, we have to learn to love and live and live and love in that, live our lives, love each other, continue to love on your children, Tiffany, love on each other. I'm loving these things that are going out on social media. I am a black man and I love this and this. I'm a black woman and I don't put anyone down. Love a black man today. All these things, love, because that's teaching us how to live in that. And M, which is I'm calling mindfulness.
Mm.
Be mindful what you can handle during this time. If you cannot handle social media, one of my friends who follows me, his name is Trey. You know him, Portia, who he's Trey's always on. He has put out there, I am taking a break from social media the entire month of July, and because I need to unplug and be mindful of what information I'm allowing into my soul, into my eye shutters, because unfortunately, once we get a picture in our mind, it's almost impossible to get it out. So now we have to retrain our minds about what wonderful images we need to replace that with. So it's going to take a while because that's traumatic. Just like we have muscle memory, we also have, Doc, and please help me out with this portion, emotional memory as well.
Yeah.
Comes back with that as well. So we now have to replace those, like that, replacing the muscle memory. We have
Right,
to also replace the emotional memories of this trauma with something else. That's why I believe that we're getting so many people passionate about marching, because we need to replace our emotions with something positive, in that we're making positive strides to try and erase those images. But if I'm not mistaken, we've had what, 25 to 28 people who now have been killed for participating in these rallies nationwide now. So
right.
that's trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma.
Right. And Doc, I know that,
Mm.
you talk about exercise and all the stuff that happens to the body. I want to ask you, how are you doing it? Right? You're going into the office, you're still seeing patients. You still, your unplugging is different, right? I can unplug differently, but you got to see patients. You're taking care of America, and doing all these things. So, how are you making sure that your stress level is down, that your mental health is okay? What are some of those things? Because there's some people that are saying, I'm working 12-hour shifts. I'm at the hospitals. It's hard to, I'm at the grocery store. I'm at the working two jobs still. So I think, Doc, you can kind of speak to that because while it's easy
Yeah.
for me to say I need a break, I could take a break, but you can't because you're taking care of people. So how are you taking care of you?
Right, right. And especially we were looking at, there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel real soon.
Right.
And then, these killings started. And, obviously it's very upsetting. Um, but, I use a combination of the things that I spoke about. I do my morning devotions with my wife, and I will do it. She'll sometimes do her own. I'll do mine. And we're fasting right now, so this
Mhm.
fasting has usually draws you closer. Your spirituality increases,
Hmm.
That's
and
right.
your confidence increases. So you know that
Right.
there has to be something good that's going to come of this.
Yeah.
And that's what I look forward to. Obviously in the back of your mind, Satan is saying, well, these protesters, the rioting that's going on, it really is going to escalate, and next thing you know, we're going to be in a civil war. I mean, obviously those
Oh,
are the
that's
things I
true.
might, and I pushed that aside. I said, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But people are angry,
Right.
and the white supremacists, the people
Hmm.
who are there trying to divide and to try to keep us separated, black and white and
Hmm.
Hispanic. A lot of them are heavily armed, and it's almost like they look at this as an occasion, an opportunity for them to do additional damage. But I'm a firm believer in God, and so
Yes.
that positive outlook. I look at it as those negative things aren't going to happen. But being human, you're going to think of them, but you just push them aside. Do not
Right.
not ruminate on any of that negativity. Think
Right.
positive. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. So obviously, spirituality is key. Exercise is key, and good food,
Good
good
food.
nutrition. Doing the Daniel fast, all we're doing is eating God's food right now,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
We're eating fruits and vegetables. We're drinking plenty of water. We're staying away from processed foods, meats, and chips and stuff like that. So it's all about doing that whole lifestyle.
Yes.
Allow your lifestyle to dictate and bring about positivity in your mind, which is going to affect your body.
Yes. I
And
love
Portia, if
that,
I can
Doc. Go
add
ahead.
a little,
Yep.
no, like we always say, it's time to get rid of the stinking thinking
Hmm.
of that. Yes.
Yeah,
And we've have enough research to show that when we are spiritually connected,
right.
that is so important that
Hmm.
the length of our anxiety, the length of our depression, all of those mental health disorders are cut
Um,
in half because we, again, the M in BLM, the
Hmm.
the the mindfulness, the meditation, yes, all of those things are so important
I
so that we
completely agree
can,
with you.
yeah, so that we can get over these things and learn how to work better with them because now we're releasing them, releasing the stinking thoughts, releasing the toxic thinking, releasing the toxic patterns, and getting ourselves grounded. And then we begin to think ourselves into the
absolutely.
newness. I still say
Yeah.
that Christ
And,
was a cognitive behavioral therapist. As a
yeah.
man thinketh,
Hey,
so is
so
he.
easy.
Yes.
Yeah. And I
Absolutely.
look at your BLM as my triad. My triad is exercise, nutrition, and mindfulness,
Mindfulness.
right? Or
Yeah.
Yeah,
spirituality. So
yeah,
your B is my E. That's
yeah,
exercise.
yes,
Your live is my food.
Yeah.
yes,
And which is the nutrition, and then we both have the mindfulness in the
yes,
same way, the spirituality, and that's what you need. It's a triad
yes,
to good health. We
Approach.
just need to adapt that and take it with us and live it every day.
Absolutely.
yes,
One of the things that I am, grateful for is that in this moment, you get the opportunity to lean in and lean into, for us, it's Jesus, it's God,
hmm,
And so, in that time of meditation, because sometimes people are like, I don't know what to do, or what do you do during your devotion? And so it varies for me, some days it is just complete prayer. Some days it is a devotion that I get from you version or time that I spend. Sometimes it is just listening to worship music. Sometimes it is just being
yes,
still and quiet, one of the greatest podcasts that I love is called Encounter. It is a daily meditation in the Bible. It is the Word of God, so it is a biblical meditation. But they also have apps called Calm and Headspace that you can just be quiet. I think there is something in just being quiet and kind of letting, the energy speak, right? And so for
turning off
us,
the news,
absolutely.
because they have 24/7 news, and then you can always watch it again on YouTube.
Right,
So
absolutely. So you're not missing anything.
you're not missing anything.
And that's the whole thing with the comment about TikTok, because we're repeating that on and on. So in order to stop, that in our minds, we have to cut off what continues to be the repetitive thing.
And you have to superimpose those negative thoughts with positive ones.
Yes.
So the reason why I always say, write down sticky notes. Like I won't show you right now, but I have sticky notes everywhere, because when I have those negative thoughts and I don't have the strength to say it, I can grab my sticky note and say, this is it. I know what this is telling me, but I'm going to superimpose that with this positive thought, with this positive declaration. And so, that's just another way. This has been incredible, gentlemen. I am super excited. So
is it time already?
I know. So, Paula said, great points, Martinez Sellers.
Marty, my Paula, government name.
Thank you so much for joining, Paula. We love you, darling.
Yes.
She actually said that she went to a Black Lives Matter vigil. She said she was concerned and she was nervous, but it was good. But she had her mask and her hand sanitizer, but it was uplifting and inspiring. So this has just been a great, great talk. So I want to make sure I put this out before I let our co-host go, is that next week, listen, June, I just found this out because Marty lets me know. June is Men's Mental Health Month.
Men's Health Month.
Men's Health Month. And so because June is Men's Health Month, as well as Father's Day falls into this month as well. And we are celebrating our fathers. We are celebrating our men. So next week, listen, ladies, if you are on, come on next week, but bring a man, share with a man, because we are going to talk about men's mental health. Yes. We're going to talk about men's health. Let me tell you something. Doc has some great information on men's health.
Come on, Doc.
Sometimes we do not always go to our brothers, our husbands, our uncles, our dads, they don't always go to the doctor. And so I think it's very important, the stuff that Doc is going to bring in. I keep talking about this presentation that Doc did like a year ago. It was so impactful. And my husband went, they split us up into women's health and men's health. Women's health is something that's coming along as well, but men's health, listen, we want you to be here next week as we talk about men's health, as we talk about mental health as it relates to men. There are just some physiological differences between men and women. And so it's important. Also, women, I want you to join so that you know what's going on with your sons. You know what's going on with the men in your life and the men that you love. And so at least you can get this information to them. So next week, we will always have our COVID-19 update, but we want to make sure that we're definitely going to dive in and lean into men's health.
Great.
So I'm super excited about that.
Maintenance.
Yes.
So you guys, listen, I just got kicked out of the guest chair for next week. John Henry Scott III, my husband, it said he will be the host. So I will be able to sit back and I'll be able to listen, but he's going to be the host. So it'll be three men talking about men's health. What greater way than to have your uncles, your brother. Listen, I won't even be on. So the stuff y'all talk about, y'all are free. I'm going to be watching and I'm maybe in the chat, but at least you guys can have an open and honest conversation about what men need. So, you guys, thank you all so much for joining. So before we go, somebody had asked Doc, where did I get this? I know where I got it. Is it on your website? How can we get this to somebody that's looking for your nutritional, not just your adrenal support, but also any of your other nutritional supplements that you have?
Yeah. So all the supplements are available on N1 Regenerative Center. The website is www.n1 Regen, REGEN, not center, just Regen Center, not regenerative center.com. So it's N1regencenter.com. And they're all on there. We have stuff for depression, for anxiety. We have for blood pressure, for sugar diabetes, all natural herbal nutraceuticals that help with chronic disease. And because the mind should always be, let's change it. Let's change the bad things that happen. And you can. Don't let the pharmaceutical companies fool you. You can change it. You can beat hypertension. You can beat diabetes. So it's just a matter of how you're living.
Absolutely. I love it. So as always, Doc, thank you, thank you, thank you. Marty, listen, we need to get this mental health. So
Yes.
let us know, how can we get mental health? How can we stay in touch with you? But also, if we don't have insurance, what do we do?
Listen, if you don't have insurance, call your local 211, call or just pick up the phone and start asking. Listen, what are you doing? Are you giving sliding scales? Do you know some free services? A lot of colleges who have mental health programs give free therapy. I did my hours at a college clinic, and I did about 800 hours of free therapy before I could graduate. So there's lots of different methods of doing it. And I could be reached at Mental Health Matters with Marty podcast, Mental Health Matters with Marty Facebook, Martinez Sellers, and MarcelConsulting.com is my business that I have for Marcel Consulting and Mental Health Services, and would love to hear you. Or to get more information, you can always text I Matter to 31996. But please come and check us out. I would love to have you.
Excellent. So you guys, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. As usual, next week is Men's Health, and I am super excited about that. So, so thank you, Doc. Again, thank you so much for all of your time.
It's always a blessing.
I know you love to do this in teaching, but every time you're on, I'm like, you know how much he could be getting paid per hour, and you come and do it for free. So I appreciate it. I love your heart, and I just
Yes.
love you so much too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Doc.
Love you too.
Thank you.
I love doing it. I just love that's my calling.
We can
Yeah.
tell, we can tell. And Marty, you too. Thank you so, so very much. You as well, with all the letters you have behind your name. You guys come and you do this for free, and people love it. I'm telling you, I get so many messages to say that Wednesday is the best week of the day for, like, the best day of the week. They love it. You know, I try not to get upset because of the fact that I do a daily show, but but listen, it's
You
impactful.
mean Sunday?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter
Right.
because you guys are impacting lives. And so that's what we're all about. And I think even in this, people are taking their lives off of autopilot. They're listening
Yes.
to this stuff. They're showing up in their lives in different ways. And it's because of you guys. So thank you so much. Huh?
Wednesday or Sunday is the best day?
Sunday.
Oh, you said Wednesday.
Did I say? This is a
What?
professional show. How
We
is
knew what you meant.
We went with the
all
flow.
right, guys? Sunday.
We knew what you meant.
Apparently, my executive producer felt like she had to tell me. So, you guys, we are so excited. So, listen, next week, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We are here. We are talking men's health and men's mental health as well. I appreciate you guys. You guys, we will be back on tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time for Wake Up and Show Up Live, which is your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for coming on. I love each and every one of you guys. You know, we don't end the show without this declaration. Waking up is automatic. Showing up is intentional. Today, I will show up, but we're not going to leave just yet because a lot of people have been asking, how can I help? You can help in so many ways. There's so many books and resources that you can go and that you can read. If you're a non-Black ally and you're saying, I want to help, even if you're a Black person and you're saying, I can't get out and I can't protest, but this is what I can do. BlackLivesMatter.com. You can give and donate to the work that they're doing. The InnocenceProject.org. You can give to what they're doing. But there are so many different resources. Honestly, if you Google, it'll have all these things. We had the opportunity to give to Black Lives Matter as well as the Innocence Project. And so they are organizations that have been around even before this particular incident. And they have been helping and fighting for racial, injustices and been on the front lines for many, many years. So that is the way that you can help, my friends. Now we're going to close out. We end every show with this declaration. Waking up is automatic. Showing up is intentional. Today, I will show up. See you next time.
Get